A great big howdy do to all my friends out there in YouTube land. Get down on your bad selves. I'm Reynolds, coming to you folks from North Royalton, Ohio. It is Friday, September 6th, 2024. I've got my Earth and my Moon this time. Now, another long video. So let's get started. Take lots of breaks, push pause, smoke a cigarette, come back, think about it, is my recommendation. Slide 1 of 34. Title, Noah's deluge was massive, massive tsunami. Rain was later. Rain was after the deluge. On the title I put on YouTube, I'm probably going to say that it was the same as the sinking of Atlantis and also the younger Dryas event. Those who have watched my YouTube video, Lost Book of Enki Kicks Genesis Butt, will have already seen some of this video's content. But I will be presenting additional material, especially about the moon and the ark. Before I present any outline, I am hoping that viewers are questioning the massive, massive tsunami portion of the video title. Alright, exactly what type of massive, massive tsunami are you rambling about? Hard to tell exactly, but I wouldn't be surprised if the tsunami was 1,000 feet high over most of the planet. Rock, are you out of your mind? Did a giant asteroid hit the ocean? No! A giant asteroid did not hit the ocean. And as far as being out of my mind, that's immaterial to the proof I'm about to present. Slide 2 of 34. What on earth could possibly cause a 1,000-foot-high tsunami over most of the earth? Answer, the most catastrophic event in Earth's history. The moon's entry into orbit around Earth 12,000 years ago, very suddenly tipping Earth from 0 degrees tilt to 23.5 degrees tilt, with 23.5 degrees equaling over 1,400 nautical miles of displacement, probably within a matter of hours. For example, if the tilt was complete within 6 hours, 1,400 nautical miles divided by 6 hours would have imparted a displacement speed of 233 knots for most of the world's oceans, most of the Earth's oceans. This massive tsunami was also the sinking of Atlantis and the younger Dryas event, both 12,000 years ago, with mammoths freezing to death before they could digest their food. There's your partial answer. A sudden 23.5 degree displacement imparting a 233 knot acceleration over our entire planet is what could possibly cause a 1,000-foot-high tsunami. Slide 3 of 24. Before I talk about the timing of Earth's tilt, next will be absolute proof that the moon is what tilted the Earth, and absolute proof that will take less than 3 minutes. Prior to the 3-minute proof, I will need to present a 3-slide proof that the moon's average track over the Earth's surface is Earth's equator. Then I will present my 3-minute proof that our moon tilted the Earth. At the end of the 3-minute proof, most viewers will think, that's impossible. The answer cannot be that simple or that obvious, because somebody would have thought of this answer long before Reynolds. Everybody on this planet has free will to not believe everything I say, and to ignore the obvious fact that the current average track of the moon over Earth's surface exactly equals the 23.5 degree tilt. Earth's axis has to be the sun's ecliptic. The proof is obvious to me, and long ago I learned to not worry about what others think. I offer different perspectives so that those who are interested in truth have the opportunity to consider explanations that they may not have previously considered in the end. In the end, who are you going to believe? NASA or Reynolds. Slide 4 of 34. Moon declination, page 1 of 3. The pages below are from the 2024 Air Almanac. Don't try to read the numbers, which will be shown zoomed in on the next slide. The Air Almanacs have been free PDF downloads, but didn't work for me on 1 September 2024. I have Air Almanacs going back to 2015. I downloaded my copy either early this year or late last year. It looks like they may have stopped doing that because I couldn't download it in preparing for the speech. Just here's what you're looking at. Look at the left column there. Don't try to read the numbers, but on the very left-hand side is the time. So you go down to the time. Each one of those lines there is 10 minutes apart for the entire year. They show celestial object positions for the entire year. The red circle at the top is the PDF page, and the big circle down in the page is where I'm getting my numbers. Slide 5 of 34. So here's what those numbers look like zoomed in. On the left-hand column, you see south 2841. That's the moon declination. At the top of that column, you can see that it's less than 2841. And at the bottom of the column, the little picture below that, it's at 2840 at the end of the page. So I got the maximum. I looked for the value in the middle of the south 2841 declinations. Middle column, north 2842. So south 4841 to north 2842, and then on the right-hand side, back to south 2842. So you can see how close those declinations are. One's south, up to north, back to south. Slide 6 of 34. Here's what the 2024 Air Almanac demonstrates. On 12 September 2024 at 0430 Greenwich Mean Time, the moon will be at its cycle maximum southern declination, south 28 degrees 41 minutes. 12 days, 11 hours, 30 minutes later, on 24 September at 1600, the moon's declination is at north 28 degrees 42 minutes. 14 days, 19 hours, 13 minutes later, on 9 October at 11:30 Greenwich Mean Time, the moon is at south 28 degrees 42 minutes. Here's my point. Most importantly, the moon stays balanced on Earth's equator, with minor variances that equal out over time. The moon's max-min phases are irregular and do not coincide with moon phases. Less importantly, this is good to know, the moon roams all over Earth's skies. What I'm showing in the numbers above, in 12 and a half days, the moon's declination can change over 57 degrees. That means you go out and look at the moon, you see it in one spot, and you may go out 2 weeks later and see it in a totally different part of the sky. The 57 degrees comes from minus 28 to plus 28, that's 56, and each of those declinations adds up to a little more than a degree, so that's where I get the 57 degrees in declination. Compared to the sun, which requires a half year, 182 days, to change 47 degrees in declination. 23 and a half, minus 23 and a half to plus 23 and a half, that's a half a year, and that's 47 degrees in declination. The height in the sky. Okay, I'm ready for my 3-minute proof now that the moon is what tilted the Earth. Both sun and moon current average track over Earth's surface is Earth's equator. The previous 3 slides proved that the moon's maximum minimum declinations are balanced over Earth's equator. It should be obvious to viewers that the sun's average track over Earth's surface is also Earth's equator. It can be said that the average declinations for both a 365-day sun cycle and this 27-day moon cycle are 0 declination. The sun derives its 0 declination average from Earth's 365-day revolution around the sun. The moon does not revolve around the sun, but revolves around Earth, from Earth's perspective. Slide 8 of 34. Now, picture in your mind the Earth's 23.5 degree tilt compared to the sun's ecliptic. with the current average tracks of both Sun and Moon over Earth's equator. Keeping the current Sun and Moon average tracks the same, how would these current tracks appear if Earth's tilt would be removed underneath, setting Earth's tilt to 0? Answer: not only would the Sun's track over Earth's surface average 0, the Sun's track over Earth's surface would always be 0, and Earth would have no seasons. Conversely, if Earth's tilt were removed, the current average track of the Moon over Earth's surface would be a great circle with an angle of incidence to Earth's equator of exactly 23.5 degrees, the exact amount of Earth's current tilt. Slide 9 of 34. How obvious can you get from not just one, but two elements of corroborative proof, Sun always on the equator, Moon angle of incidence equaling current tilt, that at some time in Earth's past, Earth had 0 tilt, no seasons, and axis spin that was perpendicular to the Sun's ecliptic, but was suddenly tilted 23.5 degrees when the Moon entered into orbit around the Earth. In other words, Earth had to tilt 23.5 degrees to provide balance between the Sun and the Moon. QED, end of proof. Hope I was under 3 minutes on that. So here is the Earth's equator. On the Sun's ecliptic, the Sun's ecliptic, it's perfectly level. Here comes the Moon into orbit. The Earth had to tilt 23.5 degrees to accommodate for the Moon. And the Moon doesn't spin around the Earth. The Earth spins around underneath the Moon. But it's right there at the 23.5 degrees. Before that, and what I was saying in the proof, if you straighten out the Earth's tilt to 0 degrees, the current average track of the Moon over the Earth's surface is exactly 23.5 degrees. At the break there, the bottom part, as stated earlier, everyone has free will to disregard the fact that the Moon's current average track over Earth's surface exactly equals the amount of Earth's current tilt to the Sun's ecliptic. Going forward, this video accepts the proof that Moon tilted Earth and will rely on this premise to make conclusions about the power of the Moon's magnetic influence over Earth. A more powerful magnetic influence than the Sun. Slide 10 of 34. Okay, finally got to my outline. Okay, outline page 1 of 2. First, I already covered it. I showed the almanac data about the Earth, about the Moon, showing that it averages Earth's equator. Second, already covered. I just did my 3-minute proof, claiming that the Moon obviously caused Earth's tilt. Third, this is the big section of the video presentation. 11 slides. I will discuss the magnetic power of the Moon over Earth. The Moon is said to complete an orbit around Earth once every 27 days. The Moon tracking across Earth's skies is not a result of the Moon circling the Earth, but instead is a result of the Earth spinning underneath the Moon. The same side of the Moon always faces Earth. Slide 11 of 34. Conclusion. The Moon has a greater magnetic effect on Earth than the Sun. So I'm going to dig down into some details on this section. I think it's worth your sticking around to really have an understanding of what's going on with the Moon, as close as you can. Fourth, 3 slides. Timing. Is there any evidence that the Moon tilted Earth 12,000 years ago? Fifth, 4 slides. Did Noah really build the ark? What do the books of Enoch say? What does the lost book of Enki say? Sixth, 4 slides. Was Tubal-Cain on the ark? The 2014 movie Noah showed Tubal-Cain on the ark as a stowaway. What up with that? I don't remember that in the Bible. Is there any evidence of people on the ark besides Noah and his family? Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I conclude that he was on the ark. Seventh, conclusions. Slide 12 of 34. Power of the moon, 11 pages. The reason to address the power of the moon's influence over Earth is to provide a framework that may give clues to answer the question, how quickly did the moon tilt the Earth? To answer the next question, how big was the tsunami? How much displacement acceleration was imparted to all of Earth's oceans? I do not have an absolute proof for this follow-up issue, but my 1,000-foot-high tsunami and 233-knot displacement speed were not clickbait. My current belief is quickly enough to cause a tsunami that really did flood most of the Earth, just as alleged in the story of Noah and Atlantis and younger Dryas. So my overall point is that this is larger than anything we could have imagined. Maybe it wasn't 1,000 feet high, maybe it wasn't 233 knots, but in my opinion, those are not out of the question. Later in this video, I will address two ancient texts, the Enuma Elish and the Lost Book of Enki, that both describe a time and event in which Earth's moon did first enter into orbit around the Earth. Going forward, the proof that the moon caused Earth to tilt is also proof that the moon's magnetic influence over Earth is more powerful than the sun's magnetic influence over Earth, and that the moon is the steadiest of the three celestial bodies between Earth, sun, and moon, leading to the extraordinary fact that the same side of the moon always faces Earth. Slide 13 of 34. Proof that the moon's magnetic influence over Earth is more powerful than the sun's magnetic influence over Earth. Our so-called solar system is based on a concept called heliocentrism, in which the sun is at the center of the solar system, and thus the sun's ecliptic plane provides the foundation for planetary movements. A planet's rotation should be based on a planet's axis being perpendicular to the sun's ecliptic as the default. Prior to the moon's entry into orbit around the Earth, Earth did obey the axis perpendicular to sun ecliptic default. So when the moon entered into orbit, why didn't the moon also adjust to the sun's ecliptic, instead of the Earth tilting 23.5 degrees, adjusting to the moon's ecliptic? To this day, the moon has not slowly adapted to the sun's ecliptic, and Earth's 23.5 degree tilt remains. The moon has successfully resisted any magnetic attempt to assimilate the movement of the moon into the sun's ecliptic. So I already demonstrated, here's the Earth, and the moon came into orbit and caused the Earth to tilt. Why didn't the moon adapt to the Earth and the sun's ecliptic? The sun's ecliptic is this horizontal plane. The sun's out there somewhere. Why didn't the moon adjust to the Earth's ecliptic plane instead of the Earth tilting up to the moon? The moon has more power over, magnetic power over the Earth than the sun. If the moon didn't have more magnetic power, the moon would have gone into an orbit around Earth that was on the sun's ecliptic. Bottom of the page. The moon is totally locked in to Earth. The same side of the moon always faces Earth. Slide 14 of 34. This feature of a moon's same side always facing its planetary host is called tidal locking. I agree with the Wikipedia statement, quote, when Earth is observed from the moon, Earth does not appear to move across the sky, it remains in the same place. And you can see that. The moon's always looking at us. We spin around, the moon's still there, the same fox face. How does the moon's change in declination manifest itself in viewing from the moon? It is my current belief, but not absolute proof, that the moon's change in declination from Earth's perspective has to be an Earth wobble from the moon's perspective. So here's the moon looking at the Earth, and the Earth is spinning around underneath the moon. Well, we see that there's moon declination. So how does that happen? And what I'm saying is, while it's spinning around, the Earth also wobbles, in this case up to 28 degrees, or down to 28 degrees while it's wobbling. Imagine that you are on the moon at the fixed point on the moon's sphere that is closest to Earth. So here's what I'm saying. Here's the moon, here's the Earth, here's the moon. Imagine that you're right there, the closest point to Earth. And you could lay on your back there and look up at the Earth. You could stand and then bend your neck up 90 degrees, but that would suck. So pretend you're on the part of the moon and you're laying down, looking right at the Earth, spinning around underneath. The bottom three lines at the bottom of the page. To be able to see Earth, you would have to lie on your back and look straight up or bend your neck 90 degrees up. The Earth would always be directly overhead, but you would see the Earth wobble and also move closer and farther away. During the brief periods when the moon's declination is zero, moon's track passing over equator, you would be looking directly at the Earth's equator. When the moon declination is at its southernmost, say south 28 degrees, you would see Earth's equator dip up 28 degrees, and you would be looking directly at Earth's 28-degree latitude line. Earth would still be directly overhead. Slide 15 of 34. When the moon declination is at its northernmost, say north 28 degrees, you would see Earth's equator dip down 28 degrees, and you would be looking directly at Earth's north 28-degree latitude line. Earth would still be directly overhead. So that's the wobble I'm talking about. I have never been to the moon, at least as far as I'm aware, but I consider it highly unlikely that the moon declinations observed from Earth would be made manifest from the moon by Earth changing its altitude in the moon's sky, by changing from 90 degrees straight up to altitudes of 62 degrees on either side, but I cannot confirm this postulate. So what I'm saying is, here's the moon looking at Earth, here's Earth's equator. I'm saying that the change, let's put the equator, okay, that was right. Let's put the equator right. So I'm laying on the moon and I'm looking right at the Earth's equator. I think the reason for the change in declination is for a wobble while the Earth is spinning. And what I was saying, it could also, if the Earth continued to spin, it could move back and forth in space by 28 degrees. So here the Earth is at 90 degrees at your point. So it could go down to 62 degrees over here, 62 degrees over there. I don't think that's what's happening. I think the moon is powerful enough that it's an Earth wobble, and the Earth is also moving closer and further away sometimes. Sometimes the moon is bigger than in other times. With the Earth wobble belief, at least for now, and ultimately the real question is, how strong is the moon's magnetic influence upon Earth? I believe Wikipedia on this one, that from the moon, the Earth always, quote, stays in the same place. How does the sun appear from the moon's surface? Fortunately, we can look up at the moon and see most of the answer. From the point on the moon closest to Earth, during new moon, can't see the moon, the sun cannot be seen, and from this point we could call this moon night at that point on the moon. From the point on the moon closest to Earth, a moon daybreak would occur at the start of the moon's first quarter. From the point on the moon closest to Earth, the moon day would last about 13.5 Earth days, with moon sunset occurring at moon's third quarter. So here's the moon looking down on Earth. The Earth is spinning around. When it's new moon, this is all black here, so you can't see it. When the crescent starts, it's still black there, but once it gets to the first quarter, that's when daybreak would occur right at that spot. And then the moon becomes full, and then the shadow goes away, and at third quarter would be moon sunset at that time. Total time, half of 27 days, 13 and a half days about. So that's what I'm talking about. That's how the moon, that's how the sun looks from the moon. And you can just look up at the moon and verify that. How does science present the moon to us? This portion about Power of the Moon will present a comedy piece from Discover magazine that provides some profound facts with an hilarious interpretation of some of those profound facts. So here's a screenshot. This is a screenshot of that link. Question: why does the moon always present the same face to us? I find it impossible to believe that this could happen by chance. Answer: nope, not by chance. It's pure physics. For starters, the moon is not stuck in one place with one side facing us. It's always facing us, but they're saying it's not stuck in one place. Our lunar companion rotates while it orbits Earth. It's just that the amount of time it takes for the moon to complete a revolution on its axis is the same it takes to circle our planet, about 27 days. As a result, the same lunar hemisphere always faces Earth. How'd this come to be? In a word, gravity. The moon's gravity slightly warps our planet's shape and gives us tides. Likewise, Earth tugs at the moon, creating a rocky high tide bulge facing us. The bulge ended up working like a brake, slowing the moon's spin down to the current rate. So the lunar high tide permanently faces us. When that happened about 4 billion years ago, the moon became tidally locked, and it has presented us the same visage ever since. Slide 17 of 34. One more science issue I will address is a phenomenon called Earthrise, featuring pictures of the Earth rising above the horizon of the moon. Wikipedia tells the truth most of the time, but it behooves a reader to be able to discern how to interpret exactly what that truth is. Don't be fooled by the pictures. The pictures put a picture in one mind, but they actually explain it properly most of the time. Here are some selected quotes from Wikipedia about Earthrise. Quote, Earthrise is a photograph of Earth and part of the moon's surface that was taken from lunar orbit by astronaut William Anders on December 24th, 1968. The Earth rose, they put quotes on rose, because the spacecraft was traveling over the moon's surface. So this is from somebody traveling around the Earth in a space capsule, not from the surface of the moon. An Earthrise that might be witnessed from the surface of the moon would be quite unlike moonrises on Earth, because one side of the moon always faces toward Earth. Yep. Interpretation of this fact would lead one to believe that Earth's position is fixed on the lunar sky and no Earthrises can occur. Oh yeah? However, put however in there, then that's the end of the Wikipedia quote. Then Wikipedia goes into some gobbledygook about light rates and the sage's figure to conclude that, quote, this is back in Wikipedia, this means that Earthrises are visible near the edge of the Earth observable surface of the moon. Since a full libration cycle takes about 27 days, Earthrises are very slow, and it takes about 48 hours for Earth to clear its diameter. During the course of a month-long lunar orbit, an observer would additionally witness a succession of Earth phases, much like the lunar phases seen from Earth. So, what they're saying is Here's the Earth and here's the Moon. Here's the closest part. They're saying you could see Earth rises there and there. And that's all you can, that's the only places you can see them. That's what they're saying there. Slide 18 out of 34. Folks, it seems possible to me that Earth rises could possibly occur, but not due to any explanations by Wikipedia. What could cause Earth rises is that the distance between Earth and Moon varies. When the Earth is farthest away from the Moon, it seems possible that parts of the Moon's surface may be able to view Earth, parts of the Moon's surface that cannot see Earth when Earth is at its closest. So maybe from Earth getting farther away, somebody can see something like Earth rise. The Earth phases described by Wikipedia are not the same as Moon phases as we see from Earth. From the Moon, Earth is still spinning on its axis during Earth phases. Conclusions about science descriptions of the Moon. The Earth, the Sun, and the Moon are celestial bodies floating through space. Celestial bodies do have effects on each other, but how do scientists know which body is the dominant body in any two-way or three-way relationship? I have expressed my reasons for conclusively confirming that the Moon is a dominant body over Earth. Scientists have expressed exceedingly misleading descriptions of the Moon's behavior. It is my belief that a rotation on an axis is different from a revolution around another body. Discover Magazine's statement, quote, "The amount of time it takes the Moon to complete a revolution on its axis is the same it takes to circle our planet," is extremely misleading. You have a rotation on an axis and a revolution around another body. Discover Magazine calls it a revolution on its axis. From the Moon's standpoint, the Moon's just sitting there glaring down at Earth. Slide 19 of 34. My conclusions about the Moon. The Moon never twists on its axis while the Moon is facing Earth. The Discovery Magazine description of a revolution is from the Sun's perspective. From the Moon's perspective, constantly staring up at Earth, it is the Earth that is spinning and wobbling in one point in the Moon's space. I don't buy Wikipedia's explanation that Earth rises are visible near the edge of the Earth observable surface on the Moon. Maybe they happen, but not because of why Wikipedia tells you. I do believe Wikipedia's statement, quote, "When the Earth is observed from the Moon, Earth does not appear to move across the sky. It remains in the same place. And if you're on the point closest, it's directly overhead." Sometimes viewers will hear that a moon orbit is 27 days, and sometimes viewers will hear that a moon orbit is 29 and a half days. Both numbers are meaningful, but have slightly different meanings. According to Wikipedia, quote, "The Moon completes one revolution relative to the vernal equinox in about 27.32 days, and one revolution relative to the Sun in about 29.353 days. Here's what that means in English. Since Earth is a sphere, at any point a celestial object is always directly over a point on Earth, called a subpoint. Slide 20 of 34. So here's what I'm saying. When you have a sphere, no matter where any celestial object is, it's always going to have a subpoint on that sphere. A subpoint that can be defined by two coordinates. Greenwich hour angle, the longitude, and the declination, the amount of miles above or below the equator. The location of the subpoint requires two coordinates, the GHA, the Greenwich hour angle, and the declination. The Greenwich hour angle identifies the longitude of the subpoint based on its distance from the prime meridian, Greenwich, England, and the declination, maximum value 90 degrees, identifies how far above or below the equator the subpoint is. That's its latitude. The 27.32 day revolution is the Moon's return to the same longitude of the previous cycle. But the moon's phase, which depends on the moon's relative position to the sun, requires a little more time because Earth is further along its revolution around the sun. Thus, to reach the same phase, such as full moon to full moon, requires 29.5 days. To reach the same subpoint is only 27.5 days. Another interesting tidbit is that, according to NASA, quote, the sun rotates on its axis once in about 27 days. Since the sun is a ball of gas plasma, the sun's equatorial regions rotate faster, taking only about 24 days, than the polar regions. End of quote. I find it interesting that the sun's rotation cycle is roughly equal to the moon's revolution cycle from the sun's perspective. About a decade ago, I watched a YouTube video in which a dude said something I found very, very believable about the sun. He said, "Nobody knows what the sun is." Slide 21 of 34. Now that I believe. And I'll throw in a caveat that if one or two sorcerers do know, they ain't saying it. Finally, it is my belief that the moon has dominance over Earth's rotational axis. I find it amazing that from a steady point on the moon, Earth just rotates, wobbles, and varies its distance farther away or closer at just one point in the moon's sky. Earth's moon has resisted and will continue to resist assimilation into the sun's ecliptic. The moon is successfully resisting the sun. As my then 3-year-old daughter said to me 47 years ago, "You're not the boss of me." Meanwhile, from the moon, the sun orbits around the moon in a 27-day cycle, call that a moon day, at a constant 23.5 degree offset from the moon's ecliptic. I will take a wild guess that the moon's entry into orbit around Earth was so powerful that Earth could have been tipped within 6 hours. That's the power of the moon. Regardless of the real numbers, it is my firm belief that the moon tipped Earth quickly enough to result in a catastrophe larger than anything we can imagine, and a catastrophe that Earth will never experience again. Other than moon tipping Earth, the only other fact that I know with certainty is that science doesn't want us to know anything else. I have pondered and have not dismissed the possibility that the moon is the magnetic center of our solar system. But that's just me. So that wraps it up for the power of the moon. Oh wait, I have another slide. But I'm done with the power of the moon. I wonder what that extra slide could be. See, what did I put in here? Oh yeah, a way cool conspiracy. Slide 22 of 34. As I leave this section dealing with the power of the moon, I will relay a great conspiracy theory, that's my bag, I heard during the total solar eclipse concerning the diameter of the moon. I experienced the total solar eclipse as it passed over my apartment in North Royalton, Ohio at about 3:15 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on April 2024. Right out the window, folks. Right out there. That's where it was. I published a YouTube video about the solar eclipse. The video is low quality, but I thought it important to document the experience. Overall, I was underwhelmed with the experience based upon rumors that I had heard. Here's the conspiracy. We have been told all of our lives that the moon's mean diameter is 2,159.2 miles. The solar eclipse conspiracy theory is that the moon's real diameter is only 160 miles. The basis for the conspiracy theory, which I believe, is that the moon's diameter should match the width of the solar eclipse umbra, the darkest part of the eclipse. With total light blockage, what was about 160 miles. The umbra was about 160 miles wide. With the light source, the sun, and the light blockage, the moon, being the same apparent size from Earth's perspective, the shadow cast by the moon was almost exactly a straight line of darkness from the moon to Earth. Those who believe that the gravity of the moon squoze the moon's shadow into a narrow area need not leave comments. You're allowed to believe that. Slide 23 of 34. Is there 12,000 years ago? Is there any evidence that a catastrophic tsunami happened 12,000 years ago? Most compelling is the Younger Dryas event. Between 11,700 years ago and 12,900 years ago, a catastrophic event occurred on Earth, wiping out many species, including woolly mammoth and saber-toothed tigers. There are millions of mammoth bodies buried beneath the Siberian glaciers. Many mammoth froze to death before they could digest food they had eaten. In other words, the catastrophe happened very quickly. Second most compelling is the oldest story of Atlantis, written down by Plato. According to Plato, who had heard the story from Egyptian priests, Atlantis had been destroyed 9,000 years prior to Plato, rendering the destruction of Atlantis to have occurred about 12,000 years ago. Atlantis was submerged underwater, like a great big tidal wave. Third most compelling, do any viewers remember hearing the story of Noah's Ark and thinking, how could there be so much water? I proved in the opening of this video that the moon caused Earth's tilt. Slide 24 of 34. I argue that a very fast change in Earth's tilt could result in a catastrophe the size required for a Noah deluge, an Atlantis destruction, and a Younger Dryas event. If any viewers can think of a different catastrophe other than comet or asteroid, I've heard those. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. For those who do believe in comet or asteroid, you have free will to believe anything you wish to believe. Fourth most compelling, the Lost Book of Enki describes Noah's deluge as a massive tidal wave, prior to the 40 days and nights of rain. Now here are some quotes from the Lost Book of Enki. I cite the PDF numbers. I'll have download instructions in the text box where you can get this exact copy, and you can just type in the PDF number and you'll see these lines. Every word between quotes you'll see exactly as that is on the PDF page somewhere. Quote, button up the hatch, Ninagal to Ziusudra shouted. 9 lines later, all at once a tidal wave arose. The very sky was the wall of waters reaching, end of quote. Page 204, quote, its winds the wall of water were driving. The tidal wave northward was spreading, end of quote. Page 204, second from the bottom, northward was the wall of waters onrushing. The Abzu lands it was reaching. Abzu was mostly the Nile Delta, so it's down along the Nile River at that time. Bottom, page 2, PDF, page 204. Therefrom, toward the southern lands it traveled. The Eden it overwhelmed. End of quote. In the Lost Book of Enki, Eden was a collection of large cities, with each city dedicated to one of the ancient Anunnaki gods. That's what they called Eden. That's down there is Eridu and Nippur, Shirobak, Nabruki, and those other large cities dedicated to gods. That's what their Eden was. When the Lord God kicked Adamu out of Eden, just get to where you're supposed to work, down in the Abzu. Slide 25 of 34. Still on Lost Book of Enki, page 205. The boat of Ziusudra, the tidal wave from its moorings lifted. Though completely submerged, the boat held firm, not a drop of water into it did enter. Page 205, quote, before the day's end, the watery wall, gathering speed, the mountains overwhelmed. So the Lost Book of Enki says it went over the mountains. In Lost Book of Enki, the 40 days and nights of rain occurred after the tsunami. The tsunami was described on page 204, and then these two bottom quotes are on 205 and 206. So this is after the tidal wave. Quote, the sluices of heaven opened, a downpour from the skies upon the earth was unleashed. And bottom line, quote, but the rains from the skies for 40 more days and nights continued, end of quote. Slide 26 of 34. Who built the ark? This section will deal mostly with the Lost Book of Enki. However, I will start with a short whine about the Book of Enoch. It's cost me a couple hours here. I will later be referencing a verse from the Book of Enoch, citing the following online source. There's the online source there. I will not cite a PDF version from archive.org, long link in the text box. The PDF version translated Book of Enoch at the two most critical times with different translations from the online version, and I much preferred the online version. Here's those two translations that I didn't like from the PDF. Online version, Enoch 65.1, quote, "And in those days Noah saw the earth had tilted and that its destruction was near." The PDF version of that same verse, "And in those days Noah saw the earth that it had sunk down and its destruction was nigh." Then the other verse, Enoch 67.2, quote, "And now the angels are making a wooden structure, and when the angels came out from the task, I will put my hand on it and keep it safe." The PDF version says, of that same verse says, "And now the angels are working, and when they have completed their task, I will place my hand upon it and preserve it." I had been looking for the word tilt for 40 years. The phrase "had sunk down," that's in the PDF version, just doesn't make any sense. The phrase "angels are making a wooden structure" is much more descriptive than "angels are working." I will be mentioning the angels building the ark later in this video. Slide 27 of 34. In addition to the Bible and the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jasher and the Book of Jubilees also include the Noah story, which pretty much match the biblical story. One exception is that the Book of Jasher includes verses, quote, "About 700,000 men and women, and they came unto Noah to the ark, also wishing to board the," end of quote, also wishing to board the ark. So, I don't remember that in the Bible, but 700,000 wanted to get on the ark. Spoiler alert, Noah didn't let them. Here's what the Lost Book of Enki had to say about the ark. I find the Lost Book of Enki description more believable than the other descriptions. While Enki was asleep, an enigmatic character, Galzu, appeared to Enki in a dream, but left instructions for the ark on a table at Enki's bedside. Here it is right out of the book, PDF page 198 and 199, quote, "That the Lord Enki, asleep in his quarters, had a dream vision." And then here's Galzu speaking in Enki's dream. "Summon your son, Ziusudra, without breaking the oath to him, the coming calamity reveal." End of quote. Page 199, quote, Galzu still speaking to Enki. "A boat that the watery avalanche can withstand, a submersible one to build him tell, the likes of which on this tablet to you I am showing." End of quote. Bottom of the page, page 199 in the Lost Book of Enki. "And Galzu in the dream vision, with a stylus on the tablet, an image drew, and placed the engraved tablet by the side of Enki's bed." Slide 28 of 34. Top of the page, page 199. "And after that the image faded, the dream vision ended, and Enki with a shudder awoke. Then, as off his bed he stepped, to and behold, there was the tablet. The boat that you must build, its design and measurements on a tablet are shown." The three dots in there means I skipped a couple lines. Enki had made an oath to not tell mankind about the forthcoming deluge, but somehow Enki had to tell Ziusudra. So Enki went to Ziusudra's reed hut, woke up Ziusudra, but Enki made clear that Enki was talking to the reed hut, not to Ziusudra, as Enki left the tablet with the instructions for Ziusudra. So that the townsfolk wouldn't ask about the ark that was being built, Ziusudra came up with an alibi that Ziusudra was sailing to Enlil because Enlil was mad, and that's why he needed this great big boat. Near the bottom of the page, PDF page 199. Here's what Enki said to the reed hut. "Let the boat be one that can turn and tumble, the watery avalanche to survive. In 7 days build the boat. Into it your family and kinfolk gather." Bottom of the page, page 199 in Lost Book of Enki. Enki's still talking to the reed hut. He's not talking to Ziusudra. A boat guide who knows the waters, by me appointed, to you that day will come. On that day the boat you must enter, its hatch tightly closed you must. An overwhelming deluge, coming from the south, lands and the life shall devastate. End of quote. Slide 29 of 34. PDF page 199. Enki to the reed hut. When the townspeople will inquire, to them you will so say, the Lord Enlil with my Lord Enki has angry been. To Enki's abode in the Abzu I am sailing. Perchance Enlil will be appeased. So lie to the people who are all about to die. The townspeople help Ziusudra build the boat very quickly, loading many supplies, thinking that they were helping to appease Enlil. Here are some interesting non-biblical verses about boarding the ark, all on Lost Book of Enki, PDF page 203. So these next lines are all quotes from the Lost Book of Enki. Into the boat Ziusudra, his spouse and sons made embark. Their wives and children also came. Any who to the abode of the Lord Enki wish to go, let them to aboard come. Envisioning Enlil's abundance, only some of the craftsmen the call heeded. On the 6th day, Ninagao, the Lord of the great waters, to the boat came. A son of Enki he was, to be the boat's navigator he was selected. So summary at the bottom there. Some of the craftsmen were on the ark. One translation of Enoch 767.2 was, quote, and now the angels are making a wooden structure. It is my belief that Noah, Ziusudra, did not build the ark. Slide 30 of 34. Only 5 more slides to go, folks. Was Tubal-Cain on the ark? The 2014 movie Noah portrayed Tubal-Cain as a stowaway on Noah's ark. What up with that? I don't remember that in the Bible. So I pondered, where on earth did the movie get the idea to portray Tubal-Cain as a passenger on Noah's ark? Then it occurred to me that Tubal-Cain was supposedly a Freemason hero. Some may even call the first Freemason, who could possibly even be called Master Architect of the Earth. But if Tubal-Cain were on the ark, just who would have built the ark? Noah or the Master Architect of the Earth? Ultimately, I wrote on my website in August 2018 that the ark was Tubal-Cain's ark, not Noah's ark. In other words, Tubal-Cain was not a stowaway as portrayed in the movie. Since I wrote my webpage, I found out that Lost Book of Enki stated that ark passengers were allowed. That was, quote, any who to the abode of the Lord Enki wish to go, let them to aboard come. Envisioning Enlil's abundance, only some of the craftsmen the call heeded. If any craftsmen were needed, who would be a better choice than Tubal-Cain? Slide 31 of 34. Further, if the deluge were to wipe out all life above ground, it is believable that some of the gods may have also wished the Master Architect of the Earth to also be saved. Genesis chapter 4, verse 22 reads as follows. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. When searching for the name of Noah's wife, Wikipedia says the following. Noah's wife is one of the 4 wives aboard Noah's ark. While nameless in the Bible, some apocryphal literature identified her with Naamah, the daughter of Lamech. Tubal-Cain's sister was Noah's wife. The Bible does not say that Noah Noah's 3 sons and all 4 wives were the only individuals on the ark. Genesis 7:7, and Noah went in, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him, into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Doesn't say only. Bottom of the page, Genesis 7:23, and every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping things, and the fowl of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. So it doesn't say only 7 more were with him. It says anybody that was with him in the ark. Slide 32 of 34. I have heard several YouTubers opine, how could the Nephilim survive the deluge when with only the 8 passengers mentioned? Once again, the Bible does not state that Noah's sons and their 4 wives were the only passengers on the ark. The book of Enoch said that angels were building the ark. Freemason legend is that Tubal-Cain was the ancestor of Hiram-Abiff, the master architect of Solomon's temple. Legend also has it that Solomon had a ring with which Solomon could control demons, or at least think that Solomon could control demons. Folks, man cannot control demons. If you see a man the demons just already knows what the commander's going to say. It's always demons controlling man. But I have seen 2 Freemason YouTube videos state that when the Queen of Sheba was asked to see the workers of the temple, that Solomon could not summon the workers. Only Hiram-Abiff could summon the 200 workers, and the Queen of Sheba's loins ached for Hiram-Abiff, not Solomon, resulting in some jealousy. Legend also has it that the 200 workers were genies, or jinn. Slide 33 or 34. Summary of this section. It is my current belief, subject to change if additional evidence arises, that Tubal-Cain was not only on the ark, but that Tubal-Cain built the ark. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. The name of Noah's wife was Naamah. Book of Enoch claims that angels built the ark. It was the master architect of earth who built the ark, the grand master of the workers, just as Hiram-Abiff was master of his 200 workers, who were jinn. Do I believe that genies or jinn were involved in ancient construction projects? Yep. It is my belief that ancient construction projects were beyond the capacity of man and beyond the capacity of Anunnaki without assistance from PFM, pure magic, especially the tablets of destiny. If I'm wrong, man, will I have egg on my face. I am even a believer that Moses did not part the Red Sea. Instead, Moses had an ark with him and built a bridge over the Red Sea. With Jinn at the helm in this software universe, construction projects can be completed very quickly. Last slide, slide 34 of 34, conclusions. Noah's deluge was a massive, massive tsunami with possible destruction power of 1,000 foot high, 1,000 foot height, and 230 knots of acceleration in as little as 6 hours. In my previous video, Gen 1 named God as an Anunnaki lie, real Genesis 1 name is Creator, who's not Anunnaki. I had written Noah's deluge equals younger Dryas, equals Enuma Elish, equals death of Mars, equals lost book of Enki. Throw sinking of Atlantis onto that bandwagon. In my previous video, I described a larger picture to these simultaneous events, an interplanetary war between the former planet Ti-Amat and an Earth-Mars alliance. The moon is much more powerful than we have been led to believe. In Lost Book of Enki and Enuma Elish, the moon was directly connected to the Tablets of Destiny, the universe PFM. The Tablets of Destiny were retrieved from planet Ti-Amat. Where did Ti-Amat get the Planets of Destiny? The Tablets of Destiny are the ancestor of the Ark of the Covenant, the Emerald Tablets of Fa, and the double pillars, Boaz and Joaquin. This voodoo sorcery is weakening and will soon be expelled from Creator's universe. Demons don't work for free, and payments are currently being collected. Folks, I'm pleased as punch to have had this opportunity to provide for your educational, scientific moon knowledge, conspiratorial evidence too. I'm Reynolds. Rap with you later.